Welcome to LOCPOD, everybody. This is season 12, episode something 19. And we've got MCR partners in the house.
Yes.
Let's
hey,
go.
Kevin.
Look at this.
How are you?
Fresh off the debate. What are we calling it, John? The
De-saster-bate.
Fresh off the disaster-bate, which we're going to talk about. We are, of course, coming from Powering, Indiana, Lake County Studios, the Midwest's most dangerous podcast, LOCPOD. Without the locomotive, but with somebody that swears probably just as much, if not more than him, Matt Reardon, MCR partners.
More.
How are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you?
Thanks for coming
everybody?
in.
Sure. I always love coming on to LOCPOD. It's a lot of fun.
The Echo Dev
Guru.
God.
So somebody gave me that moniker and it stuck. I don't know that it's true. But I have an opportunity to tip people now, Kevin.
Yeah, we're going to get it.
It doesn't really matter anymore.
You mean yes, you do, as long as it's after the fact. And we're going to talk all about that in the second segment or third segment.
Wait, speaking of monikers.
Yes?
Have you heard your newest moniker, Pat?
From Cantrell?
I heard wind of this. What? Tell me, John.
Godfather of Booty.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
The Reardon?
The
Reardon.
I think back in the day I would roll with that. I got a feeling
now
that,
you're like,
that
I better
27 years of marriage probably puts a damper on it. A little bit.
But like in your early 20s?
Oh, I'm rolling with that. I'm living in Chicago for sure.
Sure, call me the Godfather
Why
of
not?
Booty.
I'll get T-shirts.
Oh, but
That's
now
fantastic.
it's Echo Dev Guru.
I'm more like if you're going to go with the Godfather scene, I'm more like the scene when Brando's in the garden at that point.
With the orange in his mouth.
The orange.
Yes, in the orange.
You're closer to that
I'm closer
scene
to that scene
than you are
than the young scene when it's De Niro on the streets talking to the guy, telling the guy the lady can keep the puppy. I'm a little bit closer to that one than the other one.
You're closer to the garden.
Yes.
Got it. All right, well, we're going to hop right into it. Oh, by the way, good morning, Jill.
Hey.
I was really worried that I was like, where's John? What was it, 7:28? 7:26?
I caught the end of a train.
Of course.
Did you watch the debate, Jill?
Hell no.
You were
Jill,
smart.
I heard,
well, you're going to love this
happen
episode.
to you a couple of episodes ago. You were stuck by the train.
The majority of the episodes.
To be clear, Matt, the majority of the episodes.
By the way, I think Matt Reardon's got the best. He had the best evening.
Oh, I did.
What did you choose?
So it was. I thought about this. I'm like, which group of old men am I going to watch? And I picked the Rolling Stones instead of
I think
Trump and Biden.
I think that's a great choice.
I thought so too. And you know what?
It was a nice night.
It was perfect.
Right? Nice cool night on the lake.
Nice cool night on the lake.
Wasn't steamy.
No, it was. Conditions were optimum.
You and your bride?
Yeah, me and Mara, we had a good time. Mick is a fucking showman. That's all I'm going to say. Oh,
jumping jack flash, no problem.
I'm watching that guy. I'm like, how old is that guy?
What? He's 81, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I always think he's the same age as my mom, 81.
So he didn't.
My mom's not jumping around on.
He didn't
Soldier
seem
Field
to have
stage.
any problem going around for a couple hours.
That's it's really amazing.
I'm watching the guy. I'm going, man, it's got to be tired, running around dancing.
What about the rest of the band?
Keith had a rough night. I'm just gonna come out and say it. Keith Richards had a rough night. Now I like Keith. I like his songs.
He survived.
He's a fantastic musician. He's still that. Him and Ron Wood, they still can play. But man, Keith had a fucking problem singing last night. He was doing a lot of mumbling.
So basically, you're saying that Mick was Trump and Keith Richards was Biden.
That's really what that's what it kind of came out. It was still okay. I mean, you were rooting for the guy. You're like, come on, Keith.
Kind of like this. We were kind of like I was kind of like, come on, Joe.
But you knew, you knew the showman was going to be able to figure out his way around it. And I mean, that's been like, whatever the last time they were in Chicago was a gap.
What do you think? Probably 3-4 years ago.
It was a while. I mean, there was a marked difference between the energy level of
kind of like Biden in the first debate in 20.
Either way.
Yeah.
You know what they do?
Who cares?
The stadium was packed.
I bet.
Just packed.
Average age?
That's what I was going to ask the group here. What do you think the average age was
at the Stones concert?
At the Stones concert versus the average age of people watching the debate.
Probably similar. Well, no. I bet the Stones concert was younger.
Oh, you think so?
Well,
I was thinking the opposite. I was thinking older for Stones, younger for the debate.
Wow.
Yeah. Everyone was tuned into this debate. Let's be honest.
I don't know. Not Matt and Mara, though.
No, and thank God you weren't.
Yes.
No.
So
didn't sound like it.
I want to know who had more drugs in their system: the average concert goer last night or Joe Biden.
I don't know.
another great
should
question,
have.
John. That's a toss-up.
I don't. The average age. I was joking around. I'm sitting in the seats, and I say this, and these people around me, they're like 52. And I'm turning around, and because I was talking to Mara, I'm like, I'm gonna guess 45. And the
Average
guy goes,
age?
average age at the Stones concert, and the guy behind me goes, that's way too low. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Okay,
And he
just
goes,
that.
no. He
yeah.
goes, no. There's some kids down there that like in the unwashed masses area, right? Then he goes, no. There's a lot of kids down there, and I'm looking at him like, no, there's not.
And
There's
then
a
Matt
lot of
and him-
old dudes here.
Then Matt and him started getting into it about their golf handicap.
That's
but
right. I was
so
like, you cheating. Yeah.
we're gonna. So anyway, great. By the way, I love the fact that you were at the Stones concert. I was curious about whether it was how it went off. So that's
It was
awesome.
cool.
Yeah, it's good.
They're,
Good
I mean,
stuff.
it was great. They did a nice job.
Well, let's get into it. The disaster-bate. And by the way, I have to give kudos to John because when I saw the note last night, I thought John had heard that somewhere, and John was like, "No, I was just laying in bed. It came to me." So, kudos to our producer.
It really wasn't it?
Oh.
There's no way to sugarcoat it.
This is, I mean, I've got some quotes of a conversation I was having with one of my sons on text while this was going on, and it's hilarious. And it basically is just like, I can't believe I'm watching this. This is where our country is, and even though Locomotive's not here, I got to give him kudos for his consistent beating of the drum against the DNC.
I
about
heard
what
what
are you
McDermott
what
said.
are you doing?
Like, wait,
Why-
hold on a minute.
Why are you letting this happen?
Yeah.
This goes back like more than a year.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, for sure. So this has been
Pass the
previewed.
torch.
Yeah.
Move along. No shame in that.
Don't
Just-
run. You shouldn't be running. We shouldn't. He's too old. I mean, Tom said this. He's been saying it for a long time.
think about the
and
judge-
finally, the CNN and the MSNBC analysts are catching up to him.
They're like, oh, breaking news. We got a convicted felon on one side and a really old dude that mumbles on the other. More news at
couldn't
11.
They couldn't pump up Joe with enough medicine. John, how are we going to do this? Because we have to. This is
Yeah.
just unbelievable. I mean, even me, who has tried to defend the president for as long as I can.
He's still the president.
He is. He is.
He. None of what happened last night mitigates what Trump said, did.
Agree.
I mean, none of that changes.
It doesn't. But the problem that Democrats have is that people don't see that anymore. They see
No.
Joe Biden on the debate stage and are like, holy shit.
Yeah.
What are we going to do?
They're like,
we
what's
can't.
this?
I mean, from a Democratic perspective, and I want to turn it over to John in a second because I want to hear what John has to say about this. But like, as a Democrat, I'm like, it's just like exactly what you feared might happen at the debate happened.
Yeah, all the stuff.
All the stuff about like, okay,
Too
Joe's
old.
going to look too old. He's going to have his raspy voice. He's going to mumble through some stuff.
Yeah.
It's going to make him look terrible to the American public that hasn't decided, but most people I think already have decided.
Yeah.
And it's going to lower the energy of the Democratic Party
Lower
even
the
more.
energy even more.
So
If
the
you can
turnout
believe it.
problem becomes, I heard a stat this morning, 75% of Trump voters are actively supporting him. 40% of Biden supporters are actively
They're like,
supporting
if
him. It's a
if
turnout
I get
problem.
around to the polling place, I might vote for the guy.
It is becoming,
Low energy.
low energy,
Kennedy.
and the fear is that if he doesn't step aside,
No,
Trump's going to win.
So how does that work, Kevin? If he pulls out of the race, do they just name somebody?
Oh, no.
else,
So
or-
remember, I guess I don't know. I was trying to look that up this morning, but the only thing I can say is that because the convention hasn't happened yet,
Correct.
that the delegates would then choose a nominee if he said, "I'm withdrawing my candidacy."
which he's not going to do.
I don't know.
Open convention.
I don't know. He
Yeah.
needs to. Someone needs to tell him exactly what to do. But all right, let's get to the debate, John. And John, do you want to give a preview, kind of where you're, kind of where you are and where you're coming from on this?
I was actually shocked at how bad his performance was, and here's why. The State of the Union address was not that long ago, and Biden did a really good job energy-wise at the State of the Union address. And I thought, surely they've got him at Camp David for a week doing debate prep. They're boosting him up with vitamin B shots. This guy's going to come out like State of the Union Biden, and it wasn't.
No.
Like, this was Biden with a week of debate prep.
Listen, it was past his bedtime.
Yeah, it was.
That's
Too
true.
late.
And
Too late.
John, the only thing I would say about that is State of the Union. It's like I can read off a teleprompter for an hour. Now it's like I got to think on my toes, and I have to be. Now, the one thing I would give him credit, and I was so concerned that there was going to be like a McConnell moment. Seriously, I was like, this guy's it's going to be really like a disaster. Like, get the ambulance, right?
Well, this first clip comes close to it.
It does come close, so let's watch it.
And I actually, I didn't put this in the notes because it's really hard to watch. And Kevin, I saw you edit it. I was going to leave it out, but here we go. Let's watch this.
Yeah.
Let's play a couple highlights from last night.
Yep.
Dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare.
Yeah. By the way, that question was not about Medicare at all.
Not at all. No,
It was about COVID or something. Yeah.
And then, like, I think, like Biden said we beat Medicare, but then Trump said you beat Medicaid. So I was like,
Yeah, good point.
Neither of you clowns are correct.
Well,
or
so-
know what you're talking about in this moment.
One of the things I thought that was interesting, and like out of the two of them, I would say Trump answered directly less questions, but Trump's strategy was like, when I get a chance to go back and say and beat Biden down again, I'm going to do that. And then they were like, well, Mr. President, you got 22 seconds left. The question was about opioids, or the question was about climate.
Yeah, I'm not
And then he'd
answering
say
that.
like a couple things about
So anyway,
it.
back to old man Joe Biden. Let's
Yeah.
talk about him for a minute.
I will say, though, when you watch that clip,
Which one? The last one, John?
the last one,
Yeah.
Trump showed a lot of restraint in not attacking his Biden's reduced
Which was
faculties.
smart. Which was smart by Trump because he didn't have to.
Totally
He-
smart. And think about how many that would turn so many people off for him
Exactly.
to do that. It'd be
And-
like beating up an old person.
Which I think is to Trump's credit, because he knew you don't have to do anything because it's just so obvious. But again, that's given maybe Trump too much credit, because usually he would go ahead and beat him down.
Yeah, he would.
Yeah.
He would. Yeah.
They had him so doped up. They're like, listen, Trump, do not. This is not a rally.
Right.
Don't just remember what we talked about.
Let Joe Biden dig
Let
his
Joe
grave.
Biden talk as much as possible,
And then walk into
say
his grave.
the least amount possible. Got it? Get
Well,
out there.
Yeah, just say how great you are. Don't
Yes.
go after Biden.
Don't try and spout any facts off. Do not do that. Gross generalities. Let that guy talk.
Right.
Smile a lot.
And he
and
did. He
try
nailed it.
to be gregarious, and people might like you.
I mean, he couldn't help himself, right? He's still always saying the best ever. No one had it.
I'm
better
the
than
two-time
us.
golf champion
well,
at
we're
my
gonna-
own golf
we are
course.
we are gonna get into that in a minute, because
Come
that cracked
on.
me up, John.
I'm a two-time
What's our next?
champion.
John? What's our next clip?
I was going to say, in an effort to be a little fair here,
Mm-hmm.
you know, here's one of my favorite moments of one of Trump's response.
What was the question?
The question was something about climate change.
Yes.
And just doing better in America, you know, to try and
What do we do to
whatever.
address the climate crisis?
Yeah.
Right.
So here, this is typical Trump. Here we go.
I want absolutely immaculate clean water, and I want
A crisis.
so I want absolutely immaculate clean water, and I want absolutely clean air, and we had it. We had H2O. We had the
We had H2O.
We had the
I
H2O.
like, he's such a
numbers
chemist.
ever,
We had the best numbers ever.
Keep going. Keep going.
and we were using all forms of energy, all forms, everything, and yet during my 4 years, I had the best environmental numbers ever. And
Ever. The best ever. I wrote that down. Like, he kept saying the best ever.
Didn't he cut a bunch of funding for all
Yes.
the environmental stuff?
Probably, but it's
Yeah.
I can't. I'm sorry, I can't help but watch that and kind of miss that Trump a
No.
little bit.
It's
I
too
miss
much.
it a little
It
bit.
gives me anxiety, John.
I know,
because
but
it's
it's
like it's so ridiculous.
It's just so just larger
How
than
can
life.
any of those announcers just be like, all right, hold on a minute, you're full of shit. guys.
because
For fuck's sake,
all they've been
you
doing all week is
cut-
criticizing them
you
for saying they're going to rip
cut-
Trump.
You cut the EPA. Care to comment?
Yeah.
The top,
But you know
the
what?
best H2O.
But then-
did you know what H2O stands for?
But
you
then-
know?
then
That's
Tapper
an
and
O
Brash
for,
would have been
am I
criticized
great?
for being
And
mean to him.
H, I'm heading back to the White House. That's about where he'd go with that.
Well,
Let's
Were
hear
the
it.
moderators not in the room, or were they?
Oh, they were the only people in the room.
Were they
Okay,
paying
it didn't-
attention?
No, it
You're
didn't
like, did
look
you
like
hear that?
they were even in there.
yeah.
It was really a bizarre setup. And even though Trump's mic and Biden's mic were off when they weren't commenting, you could still hear him, which I thought was funny too.
Muttering.
Did you see what they showed before?
I saw
if you
that,
hit this
Joe.
2 buttons, they're not going to work.
The green lights illuminate, allowing you to speak. When they're off, you could just mutter at your own microphone.
This could have been my favorite clip though that John's going to play now, right, John? This is awesome.
Great. And this, by the way, this caption is perfect. These two did spend the whole night just saying, "You're the worst." No, you're the worst. But they only really got offended. Like Trump only really got offended when his golf skills were questioned.
All right, let's listen. This is great.
Take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. But by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf with you if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest rival. He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8. But I have, you know how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Okay, let's
not act like children.
President Trump.
Thank you. It was okay. So that you could be at any country club in America and you're going to see 2 80-year-old dudes saying the same thing.
Did you see that sandbagging piece of shit? He's
take
got
you-
a 6 handicap.
I'll take you. If you want to carry your own
You
bag,
fine.
I'll golf with you any day of the week.
Fine, you fat ass. Carry
seen
your own
you,
bag.
I've seen you swing. It was like
That really happened. That's not
You're
AI
a-
generated.
You're a
This
You're a chopper. No.
This is exactly. I mean, like I got a text from one of my kids that said, "I think I was dreaming." Did they just argue about their handicaps? I thought I was dreaming.
It's a fever dream.
It's a
Yeah.
fever dream. I mean, that clip encapsulates where we are in America. We got 2 old dudes, 2 old country club guys bitching about who
Their
has
handicap.
their handicap. By the way, Biden saying I was a 6 when I was vice president. That was like in that was like 15 years ago.
Man. Hey, bro.
yeah.
Bro.
And
yeah.
Trump, and did you see Trump like look aside?
Trump was disgusted.
So
He was
disgusted
like,
about.
Oh, for God's sake, you're not a 6. I've been lying that I'm a 6 for 2 decades.
And when he said, he brought up just totally randomly before that clip about their golf game, he brought up, I'm a club champion twice.
2 times.
At his own club where no one was going to say it was
Yeah.
anything different, right?
And he said it wasn't even the senior league.
no, he
Oh,
said this wasn't the
all
senior
right.
circuit.
Oh,
this was
all
an
right.
open championship.
Dude, he did not win.
He did
shit.
not. No. But they gave him the trophy.
But it's his clubs. That's how that works.
No one's going to
And
go
the winner
against him
again
at his club.
is Don Trump.
Which is-
Don, come get your trophy.
Which is
Congratulations.
funny in itself. It's almost like something you would see like in Russia,
I
right?
bet
Like
they
you won,
hate-
Mr. Putin.
Yes, I bet they hate when that guy shows up
Oh,
there
yeah.
too. Like the people that are trying to enjoy the place and play golf, and they're
You
like,
think so?
"Oh,
But why are you there then? Why aren't you golfing somewhere else if
Well,
you hate if he
could
shows
be a
up?
nice club. Maybe
I'm
you're a big
sure.
Republican.
But
You
there's
want-
some of that, Joel. It's like, well, you look, douchebag. You know what you're going to get. But I'd be like, oh, fuck. That
He's
guy's
here
coming
today.
back. God damn it.
take the day off.
Exactly.
Well, because you're not going to get on the course.
No.
Or it's going to be real tough. And think about if you're behind him.
Yeah, you're like, what am I doing?
It's a 6-hour round probably.
No,
but-
thanks. Not at all.
So the debate was as bad as you thought it was, and there's some immediate fallout. So let's get into that a little bit.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Here's Jill. This is like a post-debate party
yeah.
for Joe.
Yeah.
And here's what Jill had to say. Oh, sorry.
Could
Kevin.
you imagine like being excited at this party? Like, okay, so the background
What
of this, if you
talk
can't
about
see it,
low energy.
it says
You're like,
"Let's go, Joe," and I'm thinking to myself, if I had to go to that party, how could you do anything but like
See,
barely clap
Kevin,
for him when he comes
see,
on?
Kevin,
Like,
this is where the drugs actually come in. On the way from watching this to this party, you're
that's
like,
when you got to take the gummies.
do you have anybody got a little help you home,
A bottle of vodka.
help you home sack so I could get through this?
Oh, this is so bad.
Answered every question. You knew all the. Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the.
That's
Joe, you did such.
That's as good as it gets.
My God,
You-
and it's a
you
teacher.
answered
But it's
every
like a
question.
teacher saying, "You young man, you did a great job." Like after a test.
Gold star.
And he still is like looking at her with his blank stare. I mean, and I love this guy, but I'm like, oh God, it's so they have to let someone. So I was thinking about this, about the dynamic a little bit. John, do you want to play these and we can maybe do a finish? Okay, let's play some more clips. And then I just remind me to talk about like this whole dynamic about like why isn't he stepping down, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I texted Kevin immediately about this. This is the first talking head on CNN right after the debate ends. This is it's almost like he got a script handed to him.
Read this.
Here we go.
Right now, as we speak, there is a deep, a wide, and a very aggressive panic in the Democratic Party. It started minutes into the debate, and it continues right now. It involves party strategists. It involves elected officials. It involves fundraisers. And they're having conversations about the president's performance, which they think was dismal, which they think will hurt other people down the party in the ticket. And they're having conversations about what they should do about it. Some of those conversations include, should we go to the White House and ask the president to step aside? Other of the conversations are about, should prominent Democrats go public with that call?
Keep going, John. Keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Because they feel this debate was so terrible. They do say in moments in the debate later, the president got better and got his footing, but then at the end, even his closing statement was a little halting. The contrast between the two candidates. Let me be clear.
Wow.
Yeah, and this is CNN, right? So I think, I'm sure, like you said, John, we were, and John and I were disagreeing on this. Like, John's saying this is scripted, and it's of course what they're going to do. I really think that this was a time for even people on CNN, even strong Democrats to say, including myself, to say like, Joe, we gave you the debate. This is it. We got to really consider you stepping aside. Because we can't lose to Trump, and it's going to happen.
And immediately, after that, like I said, like you get all these talking head celebrities, like Nikki Haley comes out. Here's her tweet. Mark my words, Biden will not be the Democrat nominee. Republicans, get your guard up.
Look at the first response, by the way.
Mark my words, Nikki Haley will not be the Republican nominee.
That's a pretty good
funny.
response. But,
very true.
So, John, what do you make of this? So, like with Nikki Haley doing this?
Here's what I make of this. I'm going to play you guys a clip. Can I play you guys a clip? This is from LOCPOD.
Okay, yeah. Oh,
Okay.
I love it. Okay.
All right, here, let me pull this up.
This must be John. This is probably John trying to defend himself against me and Tom or something.
This is back in January.
Okay.
And this is my answer to everyone last night saying Biden's not going to be the nominee.
All right.
They stole it from me. Okay. Here we go.
John's going to embarrass
I think that
Haley,
Dude, Joe is not. Wait, can we talk about Biden even being the nominee? It's not happening. He's not, dude. He's not.
What channel are you listening to?
I'm telling you right now.
I'm like, whoa.
It's that obscure thing you found the
we
phone
got
on.
Mark
should put a
this.
warning
Mark
on
this
the
episode.
screen.
Episode 11. I'm sorry, season 11, episode 2.
Okay.
Biden is not the Democratic
For what
nominee.
reason?
You are
For what reason?
You are listening
I don't
to
know.
some Martian.
I don't know.
All right. Hey, man,
but
it
it's
happens.
not.
It
It's
happens.
not
Write it
happening.
down.
19.
January 13th, 2024.
I
John
knew you were going to
Vesmar.
embarrass me, John.
It's not about embarrassing you. It's more about, I said this months ago. Everyone laughed at me. They called me a conspiracy theorist. People in chat were saying you're crazy. And here we are. The whole world now, fast forward to last night,
Agrees with
Biden's
you.
got to step down.
They're all agreeing with you now.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I guess probably looking back, I think in context, probably Tom more than me was probably just saying like Democrats don't have the balls to get rid of him. I think probably
True.
I think that's probably
True
the context.
statement.
I was probably more saying like, of course he's gonna be the nominee, John. He'll be fine.
And I didn't know then like how it was going to play out, but as time started going on, I started thinking like they're going to give Biden this debate, and they're scheduling it really early for some reason. I couldn't figure
Correct.
that out.
That's a good point.
Why are they scheduling it so early? And I think now looking back, and you can call me a conspiracy theorist again, but maybe they did it so early because if he messed up, there's still
There's
a chance
time.
to get him out.
That's a good call, and that could be very. It's almost like here's your chance. Here's your
chance.
Yeah, this is it.
we
This is all
owe
we're
ya.
going to give you.
We owe you a shot. If you can get it done, great.
This is your
Otherwise-
premiere night.
And
See
this
how you
is-
do.
Yeah, and this is Stephen Smith, who we talked
Love-
about on the
like
show
him.
before, ESPN commentator. He's actually saying, how about Michelle Obama? Like, it's over for Biden. How about Michelle?
So let's talk about this, though. I mean, like, who is out there, right? I think obviously we've talked about Gavin Newsom on the show. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's.
Yeah.
Is it like somebody like that? Is it a Whitmer? Is it a John Tester? Is it a Buttigieg?
Not Tester. People don't like the fact that Buttigieg is gay.
That's
all
my
Stephen
concern
Smith
about-
is doing by throwing Michelle Obama's name out is stirring the pot up.
Yep.
That's what that's about. I think legit, you got to go with the California dude.
I mean, Gavin Newsom, I think, is the obvious choice. I think the concern about Buttigieg, even though I think he's awesome, and getting somebody from the Midwest or from a red state would be great.
Yeah, don't
he's the smartest guy
misunderstand
out
me.
there. But
He is the
blue
smartest
collar
guy.
guys would be like, I'm not voting for a gay dude.
Yeah.
And that's his problem. And he's never done well with African Americans.
Nope.
So
he's got some issues, but Gavin Newsom, he's like, all right, get me on the debate stage.
Speaking of,
I don't need any notes. I don't need any teleprompter.
He really wouldn't need any.
Come
notes.
on, let's go. What are you asking about? Let's talk about it. I was,
love him
my
or
handicap
not.
is actually a 6.
And he's a good-looking dude, and he
He's
probably
a
is
good
a 6.
dude. He gives a little snicker to Don Jr. Like, how's it picking up my trash? What's up?
Oh, he does have that on Don Jr.
Yes, he does.
I like that. Oh, that's good too.
Oh, that's right.
Oh yeah,
Crazy.
That's got a great little twist to the.
Just to throw that out there, work something into
I had
the
her first.
performance. Sometimes it's it's helpful when people pick up your trash. Your family knows a thing or two about that, right, Don? Right.
We're talking about women right
Yeah.
now.
All right.
Well, I'm talking about Kim Guilfoyle. Let's be perfectly clear.
Okay.
Not all, just her.
Last time Reardon was on the show, he offended an entire country.
I
Now
know.
he's offending an entire
I hold
50%
fast,
of the population.
I hold fast that I was correct about what's her name being a British 15. I stand by that statement. I stand by the statement.
Here we go again.
Okay, let's get back to it. So here's
let's get
Newsom's
back to
official response. I think this is actually kind of funny how he's still like his whole media tour recently is like, we got to stand behind Joe. Well, then why are you on this media tour? You know what I mean? And he's still doing it. After last night.
Okay, so if you're buying into a conspiracy theory, they're like, keep him going around the country.
Yeah.
Because when it's time to pull him in, we got to have him ready.
Which would be a terrible idea because he's so far left.
You know what, though? Let me ask you this, John, just objectively, if you can be objective on this.
Yeah. Always.
Does Gavin have a better chance than Joe of beating Trump?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, how do you not, right? Okay, so this is actually an interesting clip.
You were out there getting a chorus of questions about whether Biden should step down. There is panic that has set in. There is panic that has set in among people who have watched this debate, who are Democrats, people who are strategists, and some even inside Democratic campaigns. Yeah. Do you think it's unfounded?
Well, I think it's unhelpful, and I think it's unnecessary. We've got to go in and got to keep our heads high. And as I say, we've got to have the back of this president. You don't turn your back because of one performance. What kind of party does that? It's been a masterclass. 15.6 million jobs. That's 8 times more.
Bounce back jobs.
So, last 3 Republican presidents combined.
He's got me feeling bad a little bit. Like, why don't I have the president's back? But
I kind of agree with him. Like, where's the loyalty?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you guys have.
I'm not turning my back on him yet. Yeah. I'm just like so nervous. Okay.
Presidents have.
He says something really interesting at the end here.
Common is recessions. Democrats deliver. This president has delivered. We need to deliver for him at this moment. With all due respect, the more time we start having these conversations, go down these rabbit holes, it's unhelpful to our democracy, our fate and future of this country, the world. They need us right now to step up, and that's exactly what I intend to do.
I think that was a sly way.
Interesting
I think that was
ending.
a really sly way of saying, he said, I plan on stepping up. We'll see.
He's got me really thinking, like, have I abandoned our guy too quickly here? So, I mean, I don't know. They got to figure this out. Because what I would say is obviously this. Number one, I'm voting for Joe Biden if he's on the ballot. And I'm sorry. I mean, and that's just, I can't vote for Trump. 2, I'm really concerned about being able to beat him now. Because if you are somebody that is not a party person, if you are somebody who's just out there thinking, who am I going to vote for? It is without a doubt that Trump was the more virile, awake, communicative candidate. Now, you can disagree with him like I do on almost everything, but the fact is that it wasn't even close.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do they add Gavin as the VP then?
There's no way they do that. I'll tell you why. Because I don't think you can say to, a huge portion of the Democratic Party, oh, by the way, we're just going to kick Kamala to the side and put Gavin in.
Kind of what they've done the whole presidency. She really hasn't been a part of it, has she?
I think all vice presidents kind of
fade away. Yeah, fade to the
Yeah.
side. I mean, even like Pence. I mean, he was
But when it's your
active
turn
early.
to step up and overturn an election, and you don't do it like Mike Pence did,
bring out the gallows.
People want to hang you. I mean,
So,
come on.
Speaking of that, John, didn't they say something about they were going to, or Trump was going to name his vice presidential candidate?
I think Trump went to the extent to say he will be there.
Oh, even though
I
no
don't
one
know
was
that
in,
he's-
even though no one
no
was
one was
there.
there. Well, there were a lot of like side rooms and stuff, right?
Sure.
And by the way, a lot of the people being talked about for vice president for Trump were there. It wasn't like just one of them was there. There were multiple ones. So I don't know.
You have a-
Much
do you have
like
a guess yet?
Infrastructure Week, or Mexico's paying for the wall, or Medicare, Medicaid. Anyway, it's all the same. I mean, you know the hyperbole of that guy.
Trump was
every time he
pushing the
talks.
border, the border. I mean, but
I'm not going to beat on the guy. I knew he was back then. As I was talking to John earlier, I'm like, the Democrats almost figured out. I mean, they literally almost figured out how I would not vote for the Democrat. I mean, like when Hillary Clinton was the candidate,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm sitting there going, oh my God, they figured out the almost the only person to make this choice hard for me. I'm like, I'm not. I know what the scumbag Trump is. I know that the type, the person, what he's done, and all that stuff. And then they're like Hillary, and Hillary's smart, and Hillary's a lot of things. But I'm like, that's it, huh? Oh,
And that's
okay.
what we're faced with,
That's
right?
Same go around. Now it's like, all right, man. I can't. Nothing that happened last night changes what Trump says, did, or everything. And the thing, from my perspective, is the whole attack on the Capitol is over the top. His personal life stuff, whatever. The guy's been a dirt sack from the get go. That I don't care about. Do whatever you're gonna do. But the whole attack on the Capitol is too much for me. So if that means that another candidate gets caucused in at the convention, so okay. Imagine the level of excitement.
That's
Whatever.
the thing.
So you know what? Joe gets out there, says, "Hey, look, you know what? I am 81.
Yep.
I've been in public service for 60 years. It's time for me to move aside and to, I recommend we support Gavin Newsom for these reasons. One, this, and this. I encourage you to do that. You get everybody to coalesce behind him. Next thing you know, everybody's a little more excited than holding their breath every time the guy gets near an open mic. They're like,
could you imagine the energy if all of a sudden Biden did step aside? Huge energy.
Right.
Huge.
That is the only other way is if, so let's say he stays in, he comes back, the second round of debates, he does well. People are going to be like, all right, so which guy are we going to get?
That would be the only way. You're right. I mean, I'm just afraid of the next debate. What
why?
if it's just as bad?
What if it's worse?
When is the next debate? Do you know?
What if it's worse?
It's coming, right? Couple weeks.
Hey, I tell you what, if
John,
I'm
look
Trump,
that
I'm
up.
like, when's the next debate? I'm ready.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna let's get him on the golf course. I'll debate him on the golf course.
One of my boys was like, why would Trump debate anymore? I said, why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
What does he have to lose? He's not going
to. Nothing could go worse.
Yeah.
For that guy. Anyway,
the next one's in September.
Oh wow.
ABC.
So there will not be another one before the convention.
Is that after?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
August is the convention.
Yeah. Send Gavin Newsom out there.
The Republican convention is coming up even sooner than the Democrat. It's like right after he gets sentenced in New York. It's like July. I think it's like coming up, like three weeks away.
In that shithole Milwaukee.
I thought this was kind of funny. This is like a back and forth text chain with me and one of my boys about the debate, and I'm just quoting his side. Biden is screwed. No way he wins. Trump is 100% winning. I can't believe these are our two candidates. Two old morons. Biden can literally not function. Did you see the clip of them arguing about their golf games? I thought I was dreaming when that happened. And then he says, can he step down? Is that possible? And I said, well, there's no way Trump can win. That's a disaster for our country and democracy. And the response was, well, he's going to, Dad. Trump's going to win. Democratic Party needs to step up and make him step aside. If every CNN analyst is saying he's got to go, it's over. There you go. From the mouths of a 20-some-year-old voter.
You can imagine the text thread between me, my brother, and
God.
my dad last night. I actually started putting them up on my Twitter, just kind of live tweeting some of our stuff. So check it out at John Vesmar if you want to see some of our internal texts.
Some one-sided internal texting.
No, just observations. Anyways, to wrap this up, this was one of my favorite tweets about this debate. Trump is functioning like this off a Diet Coke, 6 Big Macs, a Filet-O-Fish, fries, and a vanilla shake. Imagine if we got a vegetable in him.
Oh, boy.
The comment is great, too.
Yeah. First comment. Are you suggesting he eats his opponent? Oh,
See,
that's
now,
low. That's low.
So if I actually saw that post, I would have put up there, I said, if you don't think that it hasn't already happened to him in his swinging days with, what's his name? You're wrong, because I'm sure it did.
Epstein?
Epstein. If you don't think that didn't happen to him in his Epstein days, you're nuts.
Oh, this just went off the rails.
We're going to, you know what? That's a wrap up of the debate. Let's go. We're going to do some ads, come back, and we've got, number one, we've got a really big Festival of the Lakes announcement.
Uh-oh.
That's right.
Which is going to be awesome. Number two, we are going to talk about this crazy and interesting opinion from the United States Supreme Court that impacts somebody right here in the region significantly individually, but also impacts every state and local official in the country.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that. And we got some other fun things to talk about. So stick around. We'll be right back after our ads, which, of course, I have somehow not.
They're right over there.
Oh, there they are. Thank you.
Want me to
I'll
go
start
first?
out. Yeah, I'm ready. I never get
ahead.
to read the first one. How about
Go
that?
ahead. McDermott hogs it up. Well,
he's a locomotive. I mean, we give him. I mean, he should be talking about our studio sponsor, which is Power in Indiana. You're right here in Power in Indiana, Lake County Studios. Power in Indiana, Lake County is your source for the region's most trusted electricians. Thinking of finishing your basement, installing outdoor security cameras, or does your business have plans to break ground on a new project? Don't leave important projects in the wrong hands with IBEW. Local 697 electricians, you're choosing the highest level of safety and reliability. Visit poweringindiana.org today to ensure your project is in the hands of skilled professionals who deliver on time and on budget. Find your electrical contractor at poweringindiana.org.
Cantrell and Cantrell. Cantrell and Cantrell, attorneys at law. Are you injured or in trouble with the law? Give us a call and schedule your consultation today with somebody who is in court and at the jail every day. Call John Cantrell at 219-554-4LAW or visit their website at bettercallcantrell.com. John and his wife, Kristen, make a great team, and they're waiting to hear from you.
Calumet Brewing. Michelob Ultra is a superior light beer brewed for those who understand that it's only worth it if you enjoy it. Containing only 95 calories, 2.6 carbs, Michelob Ultra is a light lager brewed with the perfect balance of hops and wholesome grains, producing a crisp, refreshing finish. With great Michelob Ultra partners like Lionel Messi and epic summer events, including the Festival of the Lakes, Team USA Soccer, and the 2024 Olympics, there's no better time to crack open a cold one. Head over to the Cal Brew or Michelob Ultra social media for info on this great family of beers. Enjoy the Michelob Ultra lifestyle with beers and cheers responsibly.
Bug Guy Pest Control, serving all of Northwest Indiana with no annoying contracts to sign. Monthly and one-time services are available. Insects, rodents, and more. We offer pet-friendly, safe, effective treatments for commercial, residential, municipal, office, warehouse, and more. Give the Bug Guy a call today at 219-810-7481 or find them on Facebook to get your free estimate today.
Prestimer Insurance Agency. For decades, the Ron J. Prestimer Insurance Agency has been your trusted neighbor right on Indianapolis Boulevard, serving all your insurance needs. They specialize in a wide range of insurance products and services, including auto, home, business, and life insurance. Prestimer Agency serves thousands of people and businesses throughout the Chicagoland and Midwest. Call Ron or Ronnie today at 219-844-0103. They're here to protect what matters to you most.
You got to hit the speed up button, John.
You sound like Ron Burgundy.
Yes.
Go fuck yourself, San Diego.
Go fuck yourself, San Diego.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Jill.
Oh, sorry. Where are we? Oh, Byway Brewing is a family-friendly microbrew with a spacious tap room and outdoor patio serving its award-winning craft beer, a chef-driven food menu, and craft cocktails on draft. Their brewing equipment and production facility offer a unique backdrop for events like bridal showers, reunions, or corporate parties. With their new food truck, they can cater to your corporate and private events off-site. Just off 8094 at the Kennedy Avenue South exit. Discover more at bywaybrewing.beer.
Tortillas Nuevo Leon sets the gold standard in Mexican cuisine across the Midwest. Look for their iconic red and white label at your local grocery store and enjoy quality Mexican products made with local expertise.
Tortillas Nuevo León, hechas con amor, para ti y tu familia de todo corazón. Tortillas Nuevo León, hechas con amor, para ti y tu familia de todo corazón.
I love that song.
Can't
You know what else is
can't
great?
not like it.
Ku Klux Law.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Are you facing legal challenges and don't know where to turn? Look no further than Ku Klux Law, your trusted source of legal advice in Indiana and Illinois. Do you need help buying or selling real estate? Call Ku Klux Law. Forming a new business? Call Ku Klux Law. Injured in a car crash or at work? Call Ku Klux Law. No matter what your legal issue is, call 219-617-6347 to schedule your free consultation. Who are you going to call? Ku Klux Law. Hablamos Español.
When you want the best for your home and family, trust the best in the business, Rogers Roofing. Rogers Roofing has transformed homes in Northwest Indiana and Chicagoland for more than 55 years, providing quality roofing, siding, gutters, and windows, all backed by the best warranties in the industry. To learn more and to schedule your free consultation, visit rogersroofing.com or call 219-933-9145 today. That's rogersroofing.com or 933-9145. And remember, at Rogers Roofing, excellence is expected every time.
Oh, I get to read this right to you. Should I stare into your eyes as I'm reading
No,
this?
let's hear it.
Oh, I should
MCR
start
partners.
some music.
Yes.
Romantic music.
Very romantic
Turn the
music.
lights
Got any
down?
yacht rock? You can pop on there, John.
MCR Partners is your one-stop destination for top-notch expertise in economic development, finance, and planning. I wish I had like a Barry White thing going with a dedicated team geared up to tackle your projects head on. They're your go-to comprehensive solution providers. Dive into the world of economic development.
Time to help people customize and save with
guide you through the maze of opportunities. Check out their website at mcrpartnersllc.com, or for tailored assistance, don't hesitate to reach out to this man right across from me, Matt Reardon, at 219-741-9511.
There you go.
Oh, that's what we needed.
Yes,
John.
There were ads playing before
I
it.
saw that.
Don't hesitate to reach out to Matt Reardon at 219-741 9511. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks,
MCR Partners. All right, wrap us up. One more ad.
Very sensitive.
Don't forget about Rick Walton's Burger and Misprint.
That's right.
Tell us all about it. Who doesn't want to come to the studio and do that, right?
I do. I
Yes.
like throwing shit around. Thanks, Rick, at Misprint. Do we have any ad copy for them?
We
or
sure
did
do.
I miss it?
Right here.
Oh, it's stuck
Just
together.
make it up.
I can make it up. Hey, Rick Balthusberger at Misprint. He won't steer you wrong. I know he has 2 locations, one in Munster and one in Hammond. I'd give you his personal cell phone number, and you probably wouldn't like it. So I'm telling you to open up, type in on your webpage, or for those people that still use a phone book, look up Misprint USA. They have a 30-year legacy of kicking some ass and giving you the correct product. So give Rick a call,
And-
or if you need one of these, give him a buzz.
He'll give you one. He'll get you one. They're cheap. They're not that cheap, but they're nice.
Inexpensive but effective.
That's it.
Inexpensive but effective.
Thank you to our sponsors, all of them, including MCR Partners. This is great music, John.
Thank you.
That was fantastic.
So we got a big fest announcement, and
Fest.
you know,
Huge.
yeah, this is a big one.
It's the biggest fest ever.
For those that,
There's no fest like it.
it's true.
We have
In Northern
H2O.
Indiana, We have H2O,
it
the
is
cleanest
actually
ever, the cleanest air.
The fest is adjacent to H2O. It's by a thing called a lake. We have the greatest lakes. The greatest. They're actually. Did you know they're actually called the greatest lakes?
That's
if you
true.
can believe it.
The greatest lakes,
Even though
of
they're not
all
the biggest,
time.
but they're the greatest.
We've talked about Festival of the Lakes throughout. Mayor Tom's done all the announcements here, or most of them, I think, here on LOCPOD. Wednesday night, Blackstreet. Thursday night, Shinedown. Friday night, DeBaby. Saturday night, Marshmallow. And Sunday night, Calibre Sequente. I wish I knew how to say 50 caliber, or Calibre 50. I'll mix it up. But this is an announcement of some support and opener for Wednesday night for Blackstreet. So if you like R&B, you're going to be very excited about who's going to open up for Blackstreet on Wednesday, July 17th at the Festival of Lakes. And it is Genuine. Look at it.
Boom.
Genuine. The ladies love him.
That should be the headliner.
Really?
Jill likes it.
That is the headliner.
Wow.
So that's what you're saying. You're like,
I have been saying since the Muta era that he would be a good Wednesday show.
Yeah.
Wow. So Jill's a fan.
So
Mute it.
I would say there's going to be a lot of people pregnant after this show.
Whoa.
We'll be making some babies.
But
tonight,
most
people.
of the people there, most of the females will probably be in perimenopause already, so that's probably not going to happen.
Well, he did begin his career as a member of the musical collective Swing Mob in the early 90s and has big solo hits like Pony, Differences, In Those Jeans, and others. This double platinum artist has sold over 7 million albums in the U.S. and will be a great addition to the fest this year. Get your VIP experience passes for Wednesday R&B night at the fest at festivaloflakes.com. So go to festivaloflakes.com right now. Just a reminder, I think July 1, the prices go up for VIP experience upgrades.
A few days.
So get them now.
What's the date on that?
Monday.
July 17th is the
Is
day of the
it?
show.
Sorry.
You're right though. For the price increase.
Yes.
July 1.
Monday.
John said.
No complaining,
Monday.
people. You've been warned. July
been
1's
warned.
the date. You've been warned. Get in, get on, get down on it.
So Jill, you're thinking this is going to be good.
Yeah, it's a good Wednesday show.
Yeah. So we've got Blackstreet, and opening for Blackstreet is Genuine. So
And like Jill
check it out.
said, if you want to potentially hook up and not have to worry about pregnancy, come out to this show.
That's where to be.
That's the biggest selling point I've heard.
I don't know. You're in, just as a disclaimer, you're in Indiana. I don't know what that means to some people, but you're in Indiana. It's not an Illinois show. Indiana, not Illinois. I don't
What
know.
does that mean?
We don't know.
I'm not going to say.
No.
You can infer.
Well, Mayor
Speaking of
Tiffany-
inference, are we
Speaking
going
of
to talk
inference.
about this?
Yeah, we have.
We're
to.
gonna what the highest court in the land has inferred about what typically us in Northwest Indiana call public corruption. That's what we call it.
It's really an interesting case, and we've gone in depth, I think, at least twice here on the show, John, with the mayor. I know he's been following this along, just because it's a very, when you have a case. First of all, I would say of every federal court case that gets filed, you're talking about such a small portion. I mean, this is a minuscule percentage that make it all the way to the U.S.
Yeah, I
Supreme
would
Court.
say so.
Because two reasons. One, you file a case, so many get settled or resolved short of it even going to trial, right? That's probably a good 90%. And then some go to trial, and then a fewer number of those get appealed to the Seventh Circuit, which is the middle, right? That's where you go next after district court. And then even fewer than that go to the U.S. Supreme Court, and they get to choose their cases. They get to pick. And they chose Snider versus United States. It's former Portage Republican Mayor James Snyder was indicted and convicted of the bribery/gratuity statute, which is also known as 666. And an important thing to talk about here is the fact that he did not appeal his tax fraud conviction.
No, he's
so
guilty
that
of
stands.
that. Yeah,
that
you're
stands. No matter
guilty
what
of
happens
tax
in this
fraud.
case,
Correct.
whatever you think might happen, he still has to be sentenced on his tax fraud.
Correct.
But what the Supreme Court said was this other thing about when you got something after the fact, which we're going to call a gratuity.
Right.
The statute's vague, so we're throwing it out.
It is mind-boggling. Literally mind-boggling.
So from a consultant perspective, right?
Yes.
I mean, a lot of times we hear from Mayor Tom from an elected official perspective why it can be mind-boggling and confusing. But from a consultant perspective, Matt.
So let's just say hypothetically, you submit to projects. Sometimes projects are publicly bid, and sometimes they're not, right? And they're not because the statute allows elected officials or executives or the authorizing body, in this case would be a city council, right, to make selections and pick people. So in that deliberation, there's processes that are required for identification of qualifications. Anyway, this all sounds pretty damn boring. But at the end of the day, you respond to a request for information or you respond to a document with numbers, right? And heretofore, I never even considered giving somebody a bag of money after I've won a contract. Never even crossed my mind.
After. Yeah.
Like, never even. Like, I ought to give that guy $13,000. I think he did a great job.
It's like a thank you.
I liked the way I like the
thank
cut
you.
of his jib. I'm going to go ahead and give him some cash. So I read this thing and I'm like, you got to be fucking joking.
Yeah, I think that's probably the reaction. Because I remember, John, we had Phil in when this was first, I think when the Supreme Court first decided to take it. And Phil was like, there is no way the Supreme Court is going to say it's okay to take $13,000 after you just got a $1.1 million contract. I mean, I think that's the normal
everyone
reaction.
is
For
shocked by this,
for 4 decades, the federal government has been fighting corruption in Northwest Indiana, and now evidently the 219 had it right all the time.
Well, it's
we had it right.
So one of the arguments I heard after this opinion came down, and I think it was on, is like if this is going to be left, and Brett Kavanaugh wrote the opinion. It was along party lines, or like along ideological lines, I should say. The conservatives of the court voted to declare this statute vague and overturn the conviction, and the liberals on the court wrote a dissent. I think Justice Jackson wrote the dissent, and it was a 6-3 decision. But one of the things that came out of this, as I was listening to kind of the post-opinion debate, was, look, if Kavanaugh's saying, like, this should be left to the states, he said on principles of federalism, let the states decide how they're going to deal with these gratuities. The point that many people were making was the feds are the ones that are the watchdogs on this. If you think, and they were bringing up this whole thing about Madigan's case and everything in Illinois, because these cases were put on hold to see what this opinion was going to say, and the ComEd 4 and all this.
Yep.
If you think the Illinois state or local officials are going to come down on Madigan or
they're not.
ComEd,
no,
the only people that are the watchdog are the feds.
Correct.
And so I think that's one of the things that's is very interesting about this opinion.
Why is John Bunchett still in jail? I'd be like,
before the fact.
Well, could I really? I don't know.
Bad
I'd say
bad timing.
No. Yeah, well, I mean, it's just a construct. It was just the timing of it. The guy had a towing contract the previous year, you see, so it wasn't before. It was after the fact. This is preposterous. So doesn't it really? I'm gonna ask you a legal question.
Yep.
So what does this do to Indiana campaign finance law?
I don't think
or
anything.
Indiana public bid law?
Nothing. Does nothing. No, those statutes are still in effect. They still have impact. They can be interpreted.
Except I can now just say, I'm going to give you a gratuity. Outside of those 2 things that are guiding legal requirements, I can say, oh, by the way, based on the Supreme Court, I can now give you a legit bag of money because it's a gratuity.
As long as it's not done corruptly. And that's what the Supreme Court had a big problem with, is that corruptly was pretty amorphous, and you couldn't Kavanaugh called it a trap for the unwary, because what he said was the government's interpretation of the statute would create traps for unwary state and local officials. The government says that the statute would not cover innocuous or obviously benign gratuities, but the government does not identify any remotely clear lines separating such a gratuity from a criminal gratuity. So the government simply...
Isn't it their job to separate out what is criminal or not? The Supreme Court?
I think what the Supreme Court's saying is this is so vague. If I give a $100 Dunkin' Donuts gift certificate to my state representative for passing this great bill this year, is that corruptly given?
No.
Is that innocuous? What if I give her? What if I give her a $500? What if I give her an $1,000?
I'm going to get bags of money with love in my heart. So
$2 Chuck versus a $500 bottle of wine.
It wouldn't be corrupted. Well, I think
Cheesecake Factory gift certificate.
They
brought that up in the argument.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
It wasn't that. We know what buying somebody a cup of coffee is. We also know what giving somebody a sack of money looks like. I mean, let's face it. It would have been very duplicitous if the Supreme Court would have said, "Now, hey, getting gratuities is illegal." They'd be like, "Well, dude, hey, bro, what's with your guy, Crow, and all the trips you took? So that's cool for you guys, but not for everybody else. Wait a minute."
It's something, and I think this is going to have a wide-ranging effect because, okay, so when this happens and the Supreme Court declares a statute either void or vague or whatever, Congress usually goes in and tries to fix it. This Congress can't do anything.
They're not doing
it.
This isn't on their agenda.
This is not on their agenda. No, anti-corruption is not on this agenda of the GOP Congress because they're too busy keeping Trump and what's his mug out
I
of
just
jail
think the
at
Congress
this time.
they don't do anything.
Much. They're not doing anything.
I mean, I don't know. I don't even necessarily think it's like anti-corruption. It's just they're not doing anything.
I tell you what they're doing. They're on Fox News and CNN.
What does this mean for previous cases, Kevin?
So I think one of the things that it happens is that, it all depends, John, right? Were you indicted under 666?
Mm-hmm.
If you were, then that, by the way, 666 is the name of this, is the section number of the statute.
Also
it's
the
not like
devil.
some sort of, right.
See that? You see what's going on with that, Jill?
Like Madigan was, right? And they haven't gone to trial yet, John. That's something for the courts to figure out. Like, okay, well, are these going to be dropped off? I heard the Madigan prosecutors say, like, look, the 666 charges are only 7 of like 30. So we're still going to move forward. But what they call the ComEd 4 that were involved in that, the ComEd, I mean, they almost entirely are based on what you would now consider gratuities.
I mean, there's
after
a dude
the fact.
I know that used to own. Well, he used to own the parking things in Chicago, and he got clipped and sent to jail for 5
Oh my gosh.
years.
Wow.
For giving people
Gratuities.
bags of cash,
After.
which now are gratuities
Or before.
after the
Which
fact.
now are gratuities.
No. So what about Gold Bar Bob Menendez? Where's he?
What's he gonna, he's going to say, man, these gold bars
They were gratuities.
Good
Some
point.
people are better tippers than others.
Yeah, good point.
We all know this is true.
Yeah, I think this is
Disaster.
yes. And Kavanaugh even questions this. You know, he says, what about a $200 Nike gift card for a county commissioner who voted to fund new school athletic facilities? Could students take their college professor out to Chipotle for an end-of-term celebration? And if so, would it somehow become criminal to take the professor for a steak dinner or to treat her to a Hoosiers game? I like how it was like Indiana-filled. This is in the opinion,
Are
John.
these fake examples?
Yes,
or are
fake
these-
examples.
Wow,
Fake
those
examples.
are really specific fake examples.
Well, I think yeah, they are. I
Seems
think,
like they were prepared for this, right, John?
like a
They
free
knew what they
Chipotle
were doing.
ad right in there in the SCOTUS brief.
So I will say, from the consultant standpoint, jurisdictions vary. They have what's called an anti-corruption ordinance. That's what they're called in place.
well, and if you listen to the argument, the person who's representing the government, one of the Solicitor Generals, was saying that they kept bringing up, well, Portage has, and the justices just didn't want to hear it.
They're like, what do you mean? They're like,
We don't care about that. We don't care about that.
They have an ordinance, which is a law that says you can't do this. That doesn't matter.
But I think what the federal prosecutors would say would be like, Judge, you think they're going to be afraid of a $100 fine or $500 fine? This isn't jail time. If you want to put the fear of God in people, it's, hey, the FBI could come and take you down.
But well, again, maybe people don't know. Some agencies, some federal agencies specifically, if you are with somebody, and even though we know people that work for federal agencies, however, they're prohibited up to, I want to say it was like a nominal amount of money, $35 or $50, right? Hey, you can't buy me a drink or two, even though we're detached from work, not doing anything, and we're friendly. You can't do that. And there's requirements. And if you stuck with them, they'd be true. But I would like to, it'll be interesting to find out what happens and what that all means with all the federal requirements about gifts and all that stuff. You're like, well, wait, it's a gratuity.
Well, so Kavanaugh brought this up. He brought up the fact that like it's one of the things he pointed to as this has to be more construed of a bribery, meaning before the fact statute versus a gratuity after the fact statute, was the difference between that there is a very specific federal criminal statute for federal employees that are accepting gratuities.
Yes.
And it only has a 2-year penalty.
Yeah.
If you said this was a gratuity statute for state and local officials, it carries a 10-year penalty.
Okay.
And what he said was,
hold on.
Let me just read
so
this
we're
real
really,
quick.
really, really trying to stop corruption. We're really trying hard not to do it. But Kavanaugh thinks that's a little egregious.
Well, he says it's unfathomable that Congress would authorize a 10-year criminal sentence for gifts to 19 million state and local officials without any coherent federal guidelines or any federal guidance at all about how an official can distinguish the innocuous from the criminal. And so very interesting, right? And he says,
very.
Yeah, and what discounts are acceptable and explain which social invitations an official may accept, all with multiple examples to guide federal officials' conduct. That's what the federal guidelines are, very specific what you can and can't, yet this is so amorphous. That's what Kavanaugh's saying. He says there's no guidance for the 19 million. It's so funny because they list things like probation officers, human resources directors, police officers, librarians, snowplow drivers, court clerks, prison guards, high school basketball coaches,
So, I mean,
on and on and
why
on.
don't they... It's
I'll
like,
take a bribe.
there you go.
No, you can take a gratuity, Jill.
Oh, sorry.
It's
either
a
way.
gratuity,
Either
Jill.
way.
It's a gratuity.
Let's finish the show up with this pretty good clip about, this was, I think, on the Daily Show.
This was, I saw
And
this.
this was about the Snider ruling. This is pretty funny. So everybody, by the way, I'll wrap up the show and we'll play this. Thank you for listening to Season 12, Episode 19 Matt Reardon.
Thanks again.
Economic
It's always
Development
fun.
Guru, MCR Partners. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
Appreciate
man.
you filling in for the Locomotive.
Yes.
He'll be back for the
Appreciate
show
it.
on Tuesday. John, great job on the debate. The disaster-bate clips. On the disaster-bate
Who was
clips.
disaster-bating last night?
And Jill, thank you. I don't want to answer that question. Jill, thank you for coming in. And by the way, your big push on Genuine. Get your Genuine tickets. Thank you, Jill.
I'm sold.
All right. Everybody have a great weekend. We're going to
Peace.
close with
Have
this
a good weekend.
really funny clip from the Daily.
Biggest politics news of the day didn't come from the primaries. It came from the Supreme Court, who just made it even easier to bribe elected officials. Tip elected officials.
Breaking news from Washington. The United States Supreme Court has overturned the high-profile bribery conviction of former Indiana Mayor James Snyder.
In a 6-3 opinion, the court ruled that gifts to public officials can only be considered illegal bribes if they're given before the official act, not after.
Justice Kavanaugh wrote that it was not a crime for politicians to, quote, accept gratuities that may be given as a token of appreciation after the official act.
Ah, I see. So if you give a politician money before they do a favor, it's a bribe. But if you give it to them after, the Supreme Court says it's a gratuity because they think I'm an idiot. I mean, seriously, a gratuity? Tipping culture is already out of control. I got a tip at the coffee shops. I got a tip at the dry cleaner. I got a tip when I get takeout, even though I picked it up and I took it out. That's why they call it takeout. Okay, fine. But if my state senator turns that little screen around on me, I'm going to lose my mind, all right? I'm still going to give 20%, but I'm going to be pissed about it. It seems like every few months the Supreme Court makes it easier and easier to bribe government officials. And I don't know why they would do that, but as soon as Clarence Thomas gets back from the Maldives, we can ask him.